when Hilarie and Jeff are up on the farm in New York and it's frozen tundra, Joy and I are sending fresh fruit from California. It's like,
yeah,
we truly, your gals from TV have all become these sustainability obsessed women in our personal lives. And so part of me is like, I don't know, is Tree Hill going to the farm? Maybe.
Yeah. What's up, everyone? Tania here with PopCulture.com, and I'm so excited to welcome award-winning actress, filmmaker, and activist Sophia Bush, who's partnering with 3M to help educate the public about Climate Week. Sophia, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Tania. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really well. I was just saying when we hopped on, and I feel like your viewers will appreciate this, that you should be a 10 out of 10 on Room Rater. This feels very important.
Thank
design-wise.
Yeah, I'm a huge HGTV fan, and all architecture and design. I love it. So thank you. That's a very sweet compliment.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it. I'm so excited because I've admired you for using your voice to raise awareness on so many issues. Climate change being the most urgent because it's so interconnected with a lot of other issues. What is it about this whole issue that we need to be more serious about and continue the conversation, in educating the public?
Well, I think it's high time that we start to take the data seriously. And I know that can be stressful and scary when the UN climate report is saying that we're on track to be inhabiting an unlivable planet. That's not an easy pill to swallow. But I think that's where you start to look to help the helpers. You start to look for the hope. And what excites me when we talk about design is that there are people who are designing for sustainable futures, who are designing actual climate solutions that can be used by individuals like you and me, but that can also be done at massive corporate scale in the B2B space. So when, a city is building a new sports stadium, it can be sustainable. And that's what we need. And that's part of the reason that I'm so excited to be here in New York and to be opening the Climate Innovation Center with 3M at Battery Park. For a tactile lover of design, it is a literal place where you can go and touch everything and learn about what solutions are available to us right now.
Yeah. And let's talk about the 3M partnership because it's very interesting. I know the fans are going to want to hear all about it. So what made you want to get involved and what can we expect in this campaign?
I mean, truly, this began a long time ago. When I hosted the Do Something Awards back in the day, we did a Post-it wall of motivational notes. And I am a Post-it person in a way that I cannot quite explain to anyone. And that was when I first met all the 3M folks. And it was really over years of learning about the research they've been doing on climate, projects that they launched in the 80s to start creating innovations that are available to us now, that made me feel so excited because as one person, I'm sitting at home going, yeah, okay, I switched to stasher bags and I got an electric car this year. Is that enough? Yeah. And to know that so many of us feel that way. So many of us want to see CSR in a real way. We want to see corporations investing in a better future, and we want them to do it at scale, to know that that's happening and that things like concrete that can become sustainable, that won't actually be a pollutant, to know that roof tiles are being made that reflect 25% of the sun's energy, which mean buildings will need less air conditioning, which means we won't have rolling blackouts during heat waves like we just experienced last week in LA. These are real solutions for people. Films that go on windows that lessen heat and sunlight that, we could have on one of the skyscrapers I see outside this window or on our cars or on the windows of our own homes. There are all of these incredible things being made possible by innovation right now in our technical age that can help us. And I think as consumers, when I encourage people to go out and use their voice as activists and citizens, we have to say to companies and to our government, we want these solutions. We have to say at our town halls, what are you doing to, build our city sustainably? How is our infrastructure in the country being done in a way that will help us battle climate change? And I'm just so happy to have some good news. I'm so happy to know that it's possible, that there are solutions out there, because it's been a real stressful couple of years.
Yeah, it really has. Like, I live in Canada, so obviously seeing the changes from like what it was in the 90s to now, you can definitely tell there are so many differences happening in climate and like the weather, and even like I'm a green thumb, so like my garden is not growing the way it needs to grow. Yeah, so it's not fun. It's not fun seeing all that. That's one of the things too, like controversial issues regarding climate change is that it's not exactly taught in schools. And I feel like depending on the voices that we need to really look at we need to look at other people who are talking about these things. So you touched on it briefly, but what are some other differences that we can make, from the ground up on making differences, like with 3M also?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's incredibly important to look at the waste we produce as individuals. Yes, we've got to call on our mayors, on our local government. We've got to call on our countries to be doing more. One of the things I love to say is like, call your representatives. They need to hear from you. Very often they just hear people calling to complain. If you call to say, you know what I'd really like to see? Climate solutions, they're going to love to hear from you. So that is certainly number one. And then to your point, I think on individual levels, we can figure out what swaps we can make. I waited until my lease was up on my car and I leased an electric vehicle. I slowly, a couple of years ago, started buying like 1 or 2 stasher bags at the grocery store. And now I have enough of them at home that regardless of how much I'm cooking and what I need to put away, I haven't had to buy a single-use plastic thing in longer than I can remember. Much like you, I keep a garden and I have bees at home. Not everybody wants to be a beekeeper, but like I really like to get in my little suit. And knowing that I'm helping bee populations in my neighborhood stay healthy feels really great. And so what I would encourage people to do is to say, what excites you? Maybe bees aren't your thing, but maybe you want to have chickens. Maybe you want to have a garden. Maybe you live in an apartment building and you could get, a small in-apartment compost building. So we're not throwing food away and creating excess methane. If all of us could kind of identify the things that felt inspiring to us and the changes we felt capable of making, and everybody did, 1, 2, maybe 3 things, that would be a whole lot of change added up. So we need it at the corporate level, and then we need it, house by house too.
Yeah, definitely. And, before I let you go, I'm having so much fun chatting with you. You're so amazing. I know that you have a podcast called Drama Queens with One Tree Hill co-stars, Bethany, Lenz, and Hilarie Burton. And being a big, One Tree Hill fan growing up, I'm wondering, do you guys ever want to make like a reunion movie or like some sort of like come back like a Friends reunion, or even just like an actual movie, like the Community movie that might be made one of these days?
I think for so long, for us, the answer was no. And then we decided to take back our show by doing this podcast. And now I don't really know. I mean, we're only in season 3 in the podcast. We have so much to get through before we're at the end of the show, before we could consider doing something else. But we are having a really good time. So I will say, I don't think it's necessarily like a wall anymore. But, what's funny about this conversation, about climate and the podcast is that all 3 of us either live on farms or ranches. Like we have become the ladies who things and cultivate animals, and we ship our honey back and forth. And when Hilarie and Jeff are up on the farm in New York and it's frozen tundra, Joy and I are sending fresh fruit from California. It's like we truly, your gals from TV have all become these sustainability obsessed women in our personal lives. And so part of me is like, I don't know, is Tree Hill going to the farm? Maybe. Yeah,
it's a great lifestyle. It sounds like a good direction also for the show.
That might make me more excited than anything, and probably the girls too. I'll talk to them about it after our Zoom.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you ladies are heading out on a tour this October, hitting a bunch of cities. What can fans expect from the show?
Oh man, well, one thing I can say is we've never done a tour before, so we're keeping it small to see how it goes, and if we have the best time, which I'm thinking we will. But we're actually not flying city to city because it's a little more sustainable and a little better for the environment. And we're really trying to figure out ways to create a show that's fun for everyone, but that is still safe, given the fact that we are still, we're in year 3 of a pandemic. We have to make sure we're taking care of people. And I think what's going to be the most special about it, as we think about climate and health and all the serious things, when we get into just ideating about what will be fun, really it's being together. We've not gotten many opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
And I think all of us living in different places, it's so easy to be on Zoom, but there's nothing that replicates our energy when we're together as a group. Yeah. And I'm excited, and I'm also a little nervous for what's going to happen. I'm like, oh man, it might be wild.
I think it's going to be so much fun. And I know the fans can't wait either. But Sophia, thank you so much for your time today. It's been so incredible chatting with you. You're so sweet. And I'm so excited for the new partnership you have with 3M. Guys, for more with Sophia Bush and the 3M campaign, head to popculture.com for the latest.